The reason we came to Bosnia is to support our home country. You know, the unemployment rate here is like 30–40%. We wanted guys to come motivated to work. It's like, there's no perfect employee, but there's no perfect employer. It was a culture shock, man. How long did it take you to get used to an 8-hour working day? In America, I'm killing like 12 hours, sometimes 16 hours a day, man. I got used to hiring in the United States. Here, if a guy messes up, one write-up. If a guy messes up the third time, then you could process to get rid of that employee.
Wow.
That kind of put me in some situations where, you know, I have to tell somebody straight up, you're not doing your job. That took me a while to get used to.
We're in Sarajevo, Bosnia right now. It's a beautiful sunny day. We're here with Anes Balic, the Director of Sales and Business Development at Balic Transport, Inc. They have over 100 trucks, if I'm mistaken?
110.
110 trucks based out of Denver, Colorado. Anes, you were born in the States, but you have Bosnian roots.
Correct.
And, you know, fortunately, we were able to meet here all together alongside with Alex to hang out, record this interview with you because you just arrived here from the States, if I'm not mistaken, a couple days ago.
Yep, left July 4th,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. And you're going to be here for the whole month?
Yep, until August 8th. Easiest time to travel, July 4th, though.
Yep.
Yeah, no lines.
Yeah, that's true. But you also have an office out here, and I just want to, you know, talk about your journey in the logistics world. How did you get into it? What made you, you know, passionate about the trucking side? And then, like, obviously starting Balic Transport Inc. and then outsourcing here to Bosnia. So if you could just kind of give us a quick introduction.
For sure. My name is Anes. I'm with BTI. The trucking industry kind of got implemented into me when I was a young kid. My dad was a driver. As a little boy, he would take me on the road with him, and I kind of got surrounded by the trucking industry through that. And then as I grew up, I constantly was around that industry. My father was an OTR truck driver for a while. We ended up opening BTI. After that, I got into the business, started, you know, booking, you know, track and tracing. I started as a dispatcher. Later, I got into, you know, sales, recruiting. So I've seen every kind of aspect of the business from a carrier side. And it's a good experience. You know, I really enjoy it because not every day is the same day. You're always against some new challenge. You're always against something new.
Doesn't get boring.
It never gets boring.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting because we actually talked about this yesterday. Alex brought it up. It was like, you're based out of Denver, Colorado. You're a trucking company. You're growing quite, you know, rapidly. I think you said you've added like 30 or 40 drivers over the last year or so, which is almost doubling in size. But yeah, it's like Denver, Colorado. It's like a dead market. You know, there's like everything $1 a mile. So it's like, I mean, I think that's quite impressive. And obviously, like, it'd be great to talk a little bit about that too. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, why Denver? Like, you're from Denver, right?
I mean, originally I was born in Colorado, born and raised, and I've heard the stereotype that Denver is a bad market. And, you know, DAT, if you hop on DAT, you'll see a lot of $1 a mile freight out of Denver. You know, relationships and stuff like that we've developed over the past 10 years. We've serviced our clientele repeatedly, you know, to great levels. So not everything that comes out of Denver is $1 a mile freight. If we're gonna be real,
only what's posted on that.
Yeah,
only what's left, the commenters who have to go on DAT.
I mean, don't they say like it's like 9–10% of the freight actually goes on DAT? Mm-hmm. So it's whatever people, you know, reject, can't cover. So I mean, a lot of the Denver freight, I feel like it's contracted out. Mm-hmm. So at one point when I was first getting into it, I mean, you have some big carriers in Denver, and you know, there wouldn't be 3, 4, 5 big carriers in Denver if there wasn't any loads.
Sure.
You know, so
I mean, can we go over that? Who are some of the names in Denver that you would see every day?
the biggest one I think is Navajo. So Navajo is the biggest asset-based carrier in Denver.
Navajo. Okay, I guess I didn't put the two and two together because there's the brokerage side and the trucking side.
Yeah, so
they're both they're just one company.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the brokerage is based in Florida, I think, and then the trucking company is based in Denver.
But they're technically like one.
They're joint companies.
They're joint companies.
A flip phone, a fax machine, and a pager walk into a bar. The bartender says, "What is this, a museum?" Technology moves fast. What was cutting edge 20 years ago is now more nostalgia than necessity. Sure, a flip phone can still make calls just fine, and a fax machine technically works okay. But why settle for fine when you can have better? If your back office technology still relies on email inboxes and manual workflows, it's time for an upgrade courtesy of ePay Manager powered by OTR Solutions. With ePay Manager, you can modernize your processes, streamline invoice audits, and automate payments with proactive workflows that don't rely on those email inboxes. The result? Faster invoicing, stronger security, and 50% lower back office costs. Don't let your business get stuck in the past like that pager you stopped carrying in 1999. Visit epaymanager.com or text ePayFC to 80483 to bring your back office into the modern age.
You have quality, you have, you have us, you have Western Distributing, you have some guys, with about 100 trucks. I don't think nobody's going into the 200s really in Denver other than
So about a
Navajo.
couple hundred truck carriers.
Yeah, so I think, having clout in Denver, it's like you're around 100, 120.
So you're already up there.
Yeah.
So like, are they looking at like, damn, who is this BTI guy coming up there?
BTS balling out at Denver.
Yeah, like,
I
you're
mean-
like taking over because like, I mean, that's quite impressive.
I mean, we definitely popped onto the scene in the last 3-4 years where we've become, a more recognizable carrier, especially recruiting drivers. Before, like, you used to get on the phone, man, and they don't know who BTI is.
No.
Well, now it's a different story. You get onto the phone, you say which company you're with, they recognize, they see your trucks on the road, going down the road, and we take pride in our equipment.
Especially the way that you guys set up your equipment. I mean, you have the recognizable gray on black trailers. Yep. I haven't seen many carriers all blacked out trailers.
And we've our goal was always, we wanted to have that blacked out look. Even with some of our blue trucks, it was black grill, black,
No,
rims.
you guys got really unique looking trucks, especially like I said, the black trailers rolling down the road. Somebody,
Yeah.
you're gonna get noticed.
Yeah, and driver retention is, you ever heard the saying, look good, feel good?
Yeah.
That's ultimately what we're trying to do when we're making those trucks like that. We're trying to make the driver feel comfortable, have them a good piece of equipment, and
Something
then
to be proud to drive.
something to be proud to drive. Yeah, simple as that.
I mean, I had obviously the ability to hear more of your story, off camera. Can you kind of take us through how it started, right? Because I know you had basically started with your dad. You guys had two trucks, two drivers.
Yep. So, I mean, we started first when we got into this, we were in the end-up industry. That was more at that point. It was my father was running. I was still in high school, and I was around that. I saw that side of the business as well. So, and it's kind of seasonal though in Colorado. So
Yeah, I mean, you guys got some winters going on over there.
and one day you have work, but the next day if it snows, you don't have any work because you can't pick up any of those loads. So when you buy a new truck and a new trailer, you have
got payments to make, man.
you got to make that equipment run, and there's payments to make. So we looked at something a little bit more stable, and we thought, dry van, it is a flooded market in the dry van. Like, there's a lot of dry van carriers, but there's good carriers, there's bad carriers, and if you kind of fit into that system where you become a good carrier in the dry van, the freight kind of just flows to you. People believe you, they know your service, and we ended up getting to, I think around 10 trucks. We held a contract with a reputable clothing brand. And we held that contract for about 3-4 years.
And you were driving the truck.
Yep, we were driving. It was me, my pops, my mother was doing the accounting. The whole family was involved. I even have a video of my little sister. At one point, she was like 3-4 years, and we were still on paper logbooks, and she was drawing on the logbook. And I was like, Lamia, what are you doing? And she's all like, logbooks. And it was, all of our family. We started in the office about this size, and it would be 3 of us, 4 of us in that office, and we'd grind it out, man. It was, good bonding time. We built a very good relationship as a family. And I think that's what ultimately pushed us through, is how connected we were as a family. And then once we grew, we did find good help. We found, we opened this office here. We have a good team in Denver. I have my guy Luis in Denver. I have Igor. I have Rick. All those guys are great help, in a day-to-day basis. And, we really enjoy what we do. We don't look at it as a job. We look at it as like something we wanna take pride in that. That's ultimately, what motivates us every day, is that pride in doing that work and doing it the right way, and and enjoying what you're doing.
What year did you all start BQA?
The end up side, it started in around 2008, 2009. We did the end up side for about 2-3 years, and then we flowed into the dry van industry around 2011, 2012. And then ever since then, we've been growing.
And I'm wondering, since we are now in Bosnia, like, what is the Bosnian population like in Denver, Colorado? Because I don't think there's that many Bosnians compared to like Missouri, Kentucky, or Iowa.
No, I think I'm one of the only carriers that's Bosnian in Denver. It's not really flooded with Bosnians. I mean, you do have foreigners, you have some Bulgarians, you have some Russians, you have a good population, but it's not like St. Louis, it's not like Bowling Green, it's not like one of those type of spots.
What about your truck drivers? Are they Bosnian mostly, or are they like?
They're all from the States. Yeah, so no, not too many drivers are Bosnian. We never really even got applications from any Bosnian people, to be honest. So it hasn't really popped up. So it's not flooded with Bosnians. We're like, you go to St. Louis and the guy's half his fleet is like Bosnians. If we're gonna be realistic, I mean, yeah, that's nice, but it's a two-sided sword, and I look at it like that. It could benefit, but it's also, it could hurt you at the same time.
Well, you did decide to have some of your dispatch team out here.
Yep.
In Sarajevo, which I think is quite cool and unique. There are like obviously more companies that are doing that, but it'd be cool just to talk about that a little bit. Like, why did you choose to open it up here? And if you could just kind of like talk us through that.
We went to San Diego. Have you ever heard of LTNA, the logistics group?
I don't think so. No.
The guy that runs that, he's based out of St. Louis, and I developed a good relationship with that guy, and I went out to one of those LTNA conferences, and I got introduced to the company. I think it's something with a VAL, like Valero or something like that.
I know Valero. Yeah, they do like the outsourcing stuff.
Yeah, it's an outsourcing team, and they kind of explain to us what they're doing, how they're doing. And it was me and my dad, and we were listening to that, and we're like, why don't we go give this a shot in our country?
Today's Freight Caviar podcast is also brought to you by CloneOps. CloneOps.ai is the AI-powered business communication platform that handles your inbound and outbound calls, texts, and emails all in one place. Freight brokers use CloneOps.ai to automate check calls, confirm orders, collect documents, and streamline back-office ops without missing a beat. You can even customize your AI agents to match your workflows. Always turned on, never stops working. Visit CloneOps.ai and never miss a message again.
I came here Halloween Day, man.
You just love traveling on holidays, eh?
Yeah, I came here Halloween Day, and I couldn't believe that people were actually celebrating Halloween out here, bro.
I saw that in Serbia, my first Halloween. Halloween is like a fun event. Like, I like Halloween.
Yeah,
and I went to Serbia, and I don't know, there was like a couple of people walking around the
Yeah,
mask.
Halloween, in the
It
States,
wasn't that popular.
in the States, it's normal Halloween, but I came here and there was people in masks and stuff, and I was like, that's pretty cool, they're celebrating out here. And we get a hotel, and we started looking for an office. So that first week we were in Bosnia. We didn't have a place to go. We didn't have a place to sleep. My mom is from like the more eastern end, like they call it Krajina, and we didn't really want to go back up there and then have to drive back to Sarajevo. And most of the dispatchers in the working class is based in Sarajevo. So we found this office. In that same office, we had an apartment, and we kicked stuff off. We were dispatching here with, they were doing ACs, and it was a whole construction site at one point. And, we got it kicked off. We started hiring a couple guys. And slowly but surely, the word got around town that we're hiring. We ended up having, multiple applications come in. We've hired a good amount of people. A lot of the guys that we've worked with have been really good. Everybody has their issues, when you have good hires, bad hires. But, overall, I feel like the reason we came to Bosnia is to kind of even, in a sense, almost support our home country too. We wanted to give, the unemployment rate here is like 30-40%. Yeah, so if we wanted to kind of give, opportunity to some of these kids, some of these guys out here, and we were pleasantly surprised with the experience that was out here. You had big companies out here already running ships like Landstar, like big outfits. I never knew when I first came to Bosnia. I never knew Landstar was out here. I never knew all these trucking companies out here.
Yeah, Shipex, I think.
Yeah, Shipex is out here, and And I post my first ad on LinkedIn, and I get applications, and I'm seeing these guys apply from these companies. And that's how I kind of realized how many companies were out here. That's how it all started. It was a good experience opening this up. I spent here 7 months.
Wow, so you came here like for 7 months.
7 months, yeah.
Before coming here, I think it was like 3 years ago. You said when you opened the office. Like before coming here, were you coming here often just to vacation, visit family?
It was a vacation kind of place. We go
Well, how often would you come before then?
every year once.
Okay, every year. So you still come pretty regularly. You probably still have family here, I'm guessing. So okay, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're gonna open up this office, and you were kind of like put in charge of this.
Yeah, I was put in charge of the hiring, of the training of the dispatchers, of all of that stuff. We opened the company too, and then I had to, pull my lichna karta out, which is your ID. I had to do all that to actually be able to open a company. We bought this apartment, we bought this, office. It was a whole bunch of stuff that we jumped through.
Yeah,
and
the legalities of outsourcing.
whoever tells you, sometimes Bosnia has some interesting ways. Like, in the States, man, you could open a company in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
In Bosnia, it takes like 2-3 months.
They have that saying, like, you're always missing one paper when you go to do anything in the government or Serbia. So
The main saying here in Bosnia is Dutch to the cafe. So that means like you have to pay somebody to do something for you 9 times out of 10.
And that's pretty standard in these countries where like outsourcing is pretty like common, just because like it is a difficulty and it's a barrier, and that's why people maybe sometimes like don't want to go there, right? Because it's just difficult. But if you know the language, if you know the culture, if you know people here, it's a lot simpler and a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, if your background's from here, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. And like they probably notice the fact that like, hey, you're supporting the local economy, you're giving back, so they're definitely grateful. But like, yeah, so you just come here and you're like,
It was a culture shock, man.
7 months.
Yeah, and I was born in the States. I got used to hiring in the United States, okay? And if a guy messes up, he's liable to lose his job, right? Here, it's different. Here, if a guy messes up, 1 write-up. If a guy messes up again, 2 write-ups.
It's like all legal stuff you have to do?
If a guy messes up the 3rd time, at that 3rd time, then you could process to get rid of that employee. So it's not like one of those 1 strike you're out type deal. Like Colorado's a no-fault state. If somebody, does something, messes up your truck, damages equipment, load shifts, anything like that, and it's on the driver or on the employee or on the dispatcher, it was, you could get rid of that guy. You could write him up. You could say, this is the reason of termination. Well, here, even if the guy messes up the 1st time, even if it's a bad mess up, you can't really get rid of him.
Wow.
So that took me a while to get used to.
yeah,
So when I came here, I have an admin lady here. Her name's Maya, and she was all like, dude, this is not America. You can't
use employees' rights.
Yeah. You. I mean, it's employee rights, but I mean, if somebody gets you a freight guard, okay, to me that's a fireable offense. But now I gotta write him up for it. So it's like,
I know how to get around this. You just give them 2 write-ups as soon as they start the work. They're like, you got 2 write-ups. You got one. You got one more chance.
The way we get around in our outsourcing operation is that everybody's
Contractor.
Yeah.
Here there are employees. You could probably do that too, but you probably wanted actual employees. I mean, I'm guessing.
Oh, but the benefits.
No, I all my employees are, we pay benefits. Where
There's a lot of benefits to what he's doing for his people, actually, because they can get bank loans. They're not self-employed. There's a lot of benefits for them. But as a business owner, you see the other side of it.
Yeah,
that's part of the cultural difference that we were talking about earlier in our podcast. Is like, people want to work for an employer that takes care of them. And here there's a lot of toxic employers too that like just kind of take advantage of people. But if you're able to differentiate yourself, especially now with more companies coming in here, and like, you have the American mentality. You were born in America, you're raised in America. Like, you want to provide for these people and like make them proud that they're working for BTI. That's different, Like, I mean, that's obviously a ton of respect to you to doing that, because there's a lot of other companies that you're like, oh, I'm gonna just hire someone for cheap and I'm gonna treat them like crap, Like,
and
that is the mentality.
And that wasn't our goal here. I mean, you come to my office. I mean, this is one of the better office buildings in this city.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we wanted guys to come motivated to work.
They have to be happy, proud of where they work.
And I hired a guy. That guy's no longer with me, but he had a good saying. He's like, "There's no perfect employee, but there's no perfect employer."
No.
So there's a balance where you have to look. You have to understand people, but the employee also has to understand that we have trucks to cover. we have drivers. If that driver's not rolling, he's not making money. And if that driver's not making money, he's probably gonna quit in a week. And that's how it goes. I mean, the guy has a family to feed. And if you're playing around with that, it's not gonna always work. So just implementing, here like that type of
Mutual
mutual respect, it was difficult because Bosnian people are a tough mentality of a people. They don't like to get coached all the time. That kind of put me in some situations where, I have to tell somebody straight up, you're not doing your job. And, they don't like to hear that sometimes. Nobody likes to hear that if we're going to be realistic. But, you have to have difficult conversations when you run a company.
I mean, yeah, it's tough for you as because you ran all the outsource yourself, and you weren't obviously born and raised here. So you obviously, same like me. Like I wasn't obviously. I never even went to Serbia until I was in my 20s, and it's tough because you have to understand these people.
Yep.
But you're not from here, so you can't really get into their heads right off the bat. It takes years to learn how they even think.
Yeah, you don't
I had all those same problems too when I was managing people.
You don't understand the mentality. It's a whole different. And
it's tough to wrap your head around it because, like, for us in North America, it seems like so simple, right? It's like we're just at work.
how long did it take you to get used to?
It took me years.
No, but to this, an 8-hour working day.
Yeah, that was
Man, in America, I'm killing
10,
like
12,
12
14.
hours, sometimes 16 hours a
Yeah,
day,
I heard
man.
8 hours. I one time I was hiring. I was actually doing some hiring, and I had some application come in. I said it's like a 10-hour shift. They're like, 10 hours? That's illegal in Serbia. I was like, so just don't work here. What do you mean illegal? You're a contract. They're like, I mean, that, I don't know. If you don't want to work 10 hours, like,
Yeah,
that's
to
fine.
me,
What do you mean you're a contractor?
Yeah. What do you mean?
But it's just funny because contractors typically are able to choose their own hours, It's
Well,
like,
yeah, they are,
yeah.
except for they're not.
Today's episode is also sponsored by Rapido. Rapido connects logistics and supply chain organizations in North America with the best nearshore talent, scale efficiently, operate on par with US-based teams, and deliver superior customer service. Rapido works with businesses from all sides of the logistics industry, including 3PLs, carriers, and logistics software companies. Rapido builds out teams with roles across customer and carrier sales and support, back office administration, and technology services. The team at Rapido knows logistics and people. It's what sets them apart. Rapido is driven by an inside knowledge of how to recruit, hire, and train within the logistics industry, and a passion to build better solutions for success. Learn more about the Rapido solution and begin building your team away from home at gorapido.com.
I mean, to me, that was the biggest surprise, like when you come here and I was, especially like that time change where now I'm working from like 1 p.m. to like 2 a.m. and like I'm still getting calls at 2 a.m., man. And it's like, you're going to sleep and the sun's coming up sometimes.
Yeah, especially running out in the summertime.
And
that happens to me like
it's
every
tough.
day.
It's tough, bro. I can't, when the sun's up, I had difficult falling asleep. And just that transition, working night shift, that was interesting. The 8-hour days, all of that stuff took time to get used to. Now it's my third year and I already know what to expect, what to kind of look for when I'm interviewing somebody, because a lot of people come and say flowers and roses.
I'm the best.
I know what I'm doing.
$18 a mile.
Yeah.
I'm the best.
Yeah, I know
I heard a
customers,
bunch
I
of
know
those.
drivers, I know brokers. Then he comes there and
It's a lot
like,
of those,
it's like,
honestly.
what's going on here, man? It's like covered one truck in an 8-hour shift. It's like, come on, bro, what are we doing here?
I had to start doing like actual demo, like test runs. Like I stopped believing people at a certain point. I told them, come cover one truck.
Yeah.
And if you can cover that truck, like, then we'll move forward.
Then we can cover another truck. Another truck.
No, but really, like, we had guys come in who said we're the best dispatchers. They would show me their previous results, and then they would come in and I would give them a Chicago truck, and the guy didn't book it 5 hours. I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna work here. I told them after 4 hours though, you could just go home, dude.
Yeah. And we have, I don't know if you have it in Serbia, but like the first month is like they call it probni rad, which is
probation.
Yeah, probationary work. So within that first 30 days, you can see what you're dealing with, and that you gotta be efficient. So when you come in, you need to know what you want that guy to do. What's your expectations?
So you got to
all
set a
of that stuff.
standard, and it's got to be realistic, right? Because some companies set standards that aren't realistic. Like, I mean, I've been to interviews sometimes where the company's like, yeah, we want 2.8 a mile on 10,000 gross.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, trucks are making like $7,000 right now. Like, that's just the most unrealistic goal. Like, I told them, show me which of your trucks are making that today, and then I'll work here. and then they just can't. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Unless
You got to be realistic about it.
unless you have some customer that's paying you absurd money
Yeah, if
or
you're
something like
dedicated,
that. Yeah, if you're dedicated. But you gotta have realistic goals.
Of course.
You gotta train your guys, what to look for. And the first month here, I was just, telling guys approving rates. I would tell them, look from this area to this area for this rate. If you find it at this rate, book it.
Nice.
And just kind of coaching them through that process in the first, month, 2 months.
That's actually smart for indoor dispatchers. Tell them like, hey, like here's your lane. If this price ever comes up, we're good to go.
Yeah.
What I would like to add is that like because you have 100% company drivers, that's a little bit unique. Where a lot of other companies are owner operators, and then you have to keep calling the driver and offering to the driver. Like whereas for you, like, hey, these are the rates that we need. If you get these rates, you book it, and the driver will take it.
He's the driver.
You dispatch the driver,
And coming into Bosnia, that's a selling point when you come here.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a selling point, I think, for anyone. Yeah.
And you come and tell the dispatcher, say, hey, man, these are all
company
Yeah,
trucks.
these are all company drivers.
Yeah.
Once you book the load, we're going to look to cut.
It's actually fire. I didn't even think about that.
So it was a little bit easier to sell that to an employee coming out of like, Landstar, for example.
By an owner op all day who just says no to everything.
Yeah, and that's difficult, and then it kills the motivation on the guy too. Like he's 5 calls deep, he thinks he found the perfect load, and then the driver says no, Rod.
And I think like brokers like sometimes don't even understand that, like where like maybe they think like a dispatcher is like trying to like screw them over, like ghost them or something. It's like the owner operator just like tell them probably to kick
I got
rocks.
some of the best advice in my entire dispatch carrier career, and I remember when I first started, I was like, why would the driver? I talked to my manager at the time. I was like, why would the driver not drive this thing? It's a profitable. It's a good load. This is some of the best advice I ever got. He told me, don't even try to get into the driver's head. Don't even try to think why. Like you'll never understand it. Like, they make sometimes decisions that don't make any financial sense or just any sense.
Man,
and he told me just stop trying to even like understand how they think. Like
I have company drivers and I run into, oh, I don't want to go to California. Oh, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. Okay, I'll make an exception, every now and again.
It's just funny to me when you offer them 2 loads and like one is clearly much better and they pick the one that doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah,
that happens all the time with owner ops.
Or like, oh, I don't do multi-stops, or I don't do, this, I don't do that. It's like, man,
Every
are you trying to
exception is a loss of money.
work, or are you trying to, sit at a truck stop all day waiting for a load? So that's where, drivers need to realize too that it's not the most, dispatchers are dealing with some tough shit sometimes.
Well, what I really like about your operation, Anes, and this is from my like just perspective of talking to a lot of trucking company owners, is that like first of all, it's like 100% company drivers, which I think is a like unique approach. Is like usually people have some kind of split or just are all owner operators. And secondly, is that you work like directly with shippers, which obviously if you have company drivers, like you could actually be like, yo, we have these trucks, they're gonna show up, and you don't have a brokerage at all, which I think is like unique because usually like all the people I talk to, never all those 3 things line up, but for you they do line up. And I think that's like if I was a shipper, like okay, like he's got over 100 trucks,
He's got enough trucks to service.
All company drivers, which obviously is nice. Doesn't have a brokerage, so I know he's not like just selling my freight on the load board. And then like I think that just
It is unique.
that's cool. It's unique, and I think that like to any like, trucking company owner that's watching, like most of those people cannot say they have yes to like all those 3 things.
Yeah, and you gotta know what, as a trucking company, you gotta know what you can cover and what you can't cover. So I'm not going to Florida and bidding on, contracts. I'm staying within my network,
And what is like your lanes typical, or regions at least, like that?
We run the Western 11 over Bacon. So the Western 11 is our creme de la creme, and then we run the Midwest. So that's
you're
where
not going northeast ever.
Yeah,
For the most part.
For the most part. I mean, like today you guys heard we had a truck in Florida, we had a truck in Virginia. So
But that's because your shipper sent you from them.
yes, our shipper, that's a contracted load we get every week, and we get like 2 or 3 trucks in Florida every week, and we try to pull them out just like the average Joe, DAT. The only thing that's tough with it's multi-stops, and sometimes, getting that ETA of that driver when he's going to be empty. If you get it too late in some of those spots, you're kind of screwed until
But
the
I
next
feel like
day.
you've built your relationships in a way, right, where your shippers obviously have lanes you like, and then you obviously have to say yes to some lanes that you don't really like, because that's how a relationship works.
Yeah, I mean, you're
You
not.
can't just take only their good freight and tell, oh, sorry, I can't service your Florida, when you're doing big business with them.
I always came to all my shippers. I say, I'll go anywhere. Okay, let's build a relationship. Let's not, let's not be.
I'll help you out, but you gotta
yeah,
help me out.
yeah. Let's work together. Let's make a partnership. And it proved. 4 years ago was COVID. Some of those guys that I built partnership. Before that, I wasn't. Jacking up rates, doing all that stuff. I was being fair with these guys because they took care of me when I was down, and I was gonna take care of them when I was up.
I bet you they're still taking care of you now that it's down again.
Yeah, and
It's relationships.
yeah, it's relationships, and that's so important in this industry where people don't, really think about it. You got to take care of those guys. You got to take care of your customers. You got to look at their problems and your problems. So you got to understand what difficulties that they're dealing with, so you could make their life easier. And that's my goal. When I come into a shipper, I do sales through BTI. I don't look to, say, oh, give me just one lane. I look to say, where are you struggling?
What's your operation? What's going on?
Where can we, fit in to see, where we could help you, and then you grow from that. Maybe sometimes he tosses you one lane and it's a shitty lane. You kick it out of the park, and next day you get some good lanes.
I mean, as a carrier, I'm sure you would agree, right? Like the only way you can really stand out as a carrier is to provide good service.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not really always about the price.
good service.
I mean, are
good
you
equipment.
telling them I'm here? Are you telling them accurate ETAs? Are you being proactive? I mean, your service is how you stand out.
Yep, communication, good equipment is big, and all of our trucks are under warranty. So if anything big happens on the truck, normally it's going to the dealer. Good driver is important.
And also, I kind of want, like, whoever's going to watch this, right? Like, you guys have over 100 trucks.
Yep.
If you have an issue, you can repower your freight. If you have an issue, you have, you're at a size that you can service direct customers.
Yep.
Because I don't want a carrier to watch this with like 3 trucks, be like, oh, like, why don't I have direct shippers, right? Because you can't really get into that if you're a small carrier.
That's a good point. I'm wondering, like, when did you start working with direct dealer shippers? Like, how many trucks did you?
I'm maybe an exception to this. I mean, we started this company with one direct contract.
Okay, so you from right off the bat, you already had a shipper.
So
Okay, so in a way, like, I guess it's difficult to get in with like Coca-Cola, with one truck, but you could obviously get in with like a speed.
But this
Small
was
to
also,
mid-size,
this
yeah.
was also 10 years ago. A lot's changed in 10
But
years.
you know what's interesting? I was at Matt's, the Mid America Trucking Show, like 2 years ago, and there was an owner operator who literally just has his own MC and he runs and he works dedicated with a shipper that sends him out of Kentucky, like I think 3 times a week.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he was teaching the owner operators how he did it, that wanted to know how to work directly with shippers. And I recall this conversation right now, was that, like, he said, like, it doesn't matter what size you are, like, there's gonna be some shipper. It could be like you said, SMB, small, medium-sized businesses, that, like, if you're able to come and like commit to this and obviously build that relationship with like trust and honesty, like, and you come in, hey, and you're picking up the loads on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the same exact time, like, they're gonna work with you.
That's not impossible, for sure.
It's not impossible, exactly. It takes work, and it's like people will call like 10 shippers and no one picks up because shippers get bombarded with calls. But they could try out our app, Shipper CRM. Just throw it out there if they wanted to see shippercrm.com or find shippersfast.com to see if they could find some shippers. You have to like contact a lot of shippers before you actually like get someone.
our tactic wasn't, cold calling at the beginning. It was more, we'd go in person.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna say we
But
went
that's
and
the
knocked on doors.
That's
I
the
knew
thing,
it.
like, that's
going
literally, you got to differentiate
It's
yourself.
that easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy.
No,
like,
I'm not saying it's easy, but listen, I worked at a carrier. I built them a dispatch office. I was the main, manager there, and we were based out of New Jersey, notoriously tough freight zone.
Yep.
We had 15, 20 units. The company's been open 6 years. Why don't you have any direct freight? Why haven't you driven around? It just knocked on some doors.
Yeah, you're
Why
lucky.
do I have 15 units every Monday and I don't have a single dedicated shipper that you guys have talked to?
Yep.
Right? Because it's that easy. You just go spend a couple tanks of gas, knock on some doors. I mean, at least try.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you'll get a contact that way, but try.
Fraud starts on the load boards, but it ends with Genlogs. See why nearly all the top 50 brokerages now use Genlogs to acquire new customers, source better carriers, and track down assets with a nationwide network of sensors. Book a demo today to see why others say it's like slinging freight on God mode.
I was annoying to a couple guys, and then annoying gets you sometimes into the door. They'll remember that face coming a couple times, and I've got told no multiple times.
Annoying gets you in the door. We got to put that quote on the
The thing is, they'll say no to a point where they're like, I'm just gonna listen to this guy because like I'm sick. Like I want him to go, but he's not going. So like at least like
Yeah, let's give him a shot. I mean, let's see let's see what I could do.
It's funny because like people sometimes like keep messaging me and like I sometimes just ignore, and like someone just keeps messaging me to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna like I'll talk to this person for like 10 minutes. But
I have a similar story where I needed to get detention, and I one time called the broker so many times. He said, "I'm gonna send you this detention, and don't ever call me again."
literally, when I was a broker, I know this probably sounds bad, especially to like carriers right now, but when I was a broker, okay, I was like the only broker and we were like growing. This was before I moved to Ukraine, before we like outsourced operations, but I was like literally like, the only broker dealing with like all these loads, and I'll get like, literally I'd be booking like 20, 30 loads a day. And, you know, like out of those 20, 30, we'd get like 2 to 3 detention requests. And I literally got to the point where I'm like, hey, unless you're like literally calling me and emailing me nonstop, I'm like not even gonna process detention because I don't even have time to process detention right now. I don't like, and like the people
Out there.
I know, like, and then to the point where like people were, if I
But
had
it
a
happens a lot.
if I had a contact, if I had someone reach out to me, like I'm like, okay, this obviously means a lot to them. Like I'll send in the request, I'll get it done. But it's just like there's so much stuff going on because you're trying to cover freight. You already have all these requests piling up, and it's just like that's like you probably realize that now, like from the brokers.
No, I've learned a lot, like going from the carrier side into the broker side. Like I've realized that so many things that when I was a carrier, I got mad at brokers for. Now I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm like, it's not even our fault. Like it's our customer's fault. It's like, I realize how like, what's the word for that? I realized how ignorant I was as a carrier towards what brokers actually deal with day to day. And like you just said, you're a one guy operation. You're only one guy. What can you do sometimes, right?
Yeah, but it's at that point where like where you see that you're getting that many requests and detention requests. I'm looking at it on the carrier side. I mean, at that point, maybe I had one person from Bosnia.
That's the thing. Also, I ended up moving to Ukraine.
Just hire one guy that just sends an email. Need detention. Need detention.
So we ended up actually
Time tracker, load tracker, something like that.
we had this trajectory where like I started, it was kind of slow, and then all of a sudden it's 2017, and all of a sudden it picked up steam. We were getting all these shipments, and then like they decided to move into Ukraine to open up an office, and then we obviously hired the people for that, you know, trackers.
But there
and
was obviously some
and they helped.
moment where you didn't have.
Yeah, there was a moment of frustration and stuff, but like then after a while it's okay, like, but then, you know, like even detention requests, like you have to like send in detention requests depending on the customer. Like you might have to send like location tracking, you might have to like fill out like a document. The shippers make it difficult too,
It's
because they don't
not
want
as
to be paying
simple
out.
as a carrier might realize.
Yeah, like there's a long process, and like it's like don't pay detention until it gets approved, and approval takes like 3 weeks, and the carrier like wants to invoice a load because he's trying to get paid, and it just
You have a button that you just press on your desk and it goes out.
yeah. I mean, I get the carrier side too, because it is frustrating. I mean, if I was a carrier, like I think the broker, like if like the carrier sends enough proof, it's just like the broker should pay it, and the broker has to like make sure it gets it from the customer. But
I kind of
easier
agree
said
with
than
that.
done.
I do kind of agree with that.
it's easier said than done, though. You know, like especially if you're a small broker and you're like, hey, it's cash flow is tough right now. It's like,
I mean, that's a topic. Like I'm doing business with the broker, not their customer. That's a long. That's
Exactly.
You know, that's a different topic.
yeah.
What do you think? You think the broker should pay detention up front? Probably.
I think it's fair. I mean, I work with direct shippers now, and you know, whenever I have an issue like that, I communicate that with that direct shipper, and the request comes back pretty quick. There is some shippers where, you know, it is a little bit of a process. It takes a couple weeks to get, you know, approved and all that
I
stuff.
mean, corporate America plays with the pay terms.
yeah, and
We all know that.
if you're gonna be realistic, I mean, carriers, you know, you need that truck out there. The broker needs that truck. Carriers are the guys on the ground.
You're spending money
Yeah.
up front. But I mean, let's throw that out there for the audience too. You don't even factor. I mean, that's unique. I mean, a lot of there. I used to have this saying, you know, carriers. There's two types of carriers: those who factor and those who lie about factoring. And but you're one carrier who legitimately does not factor.
Yeah, we try not to.
That's cool. Like,
And it's at one point, you know, we were approached by multiple, you know, factoring companies. They were like, oh, 0.5% will charge you, and it's lucrative. But when you look at it, you know, over a year span,
can cripple you, man.
yeah, look
If
how much
you have
money
the
you're
means to not factor, I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously better.
yeah, you're losing money. You're leaving money on the table. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's something where you should take advantage of that. If you're in that position to do it.
To do it. Man.
it does depend on what situation.
Tough. I mean, I
Like-
don't know of many carriers that do not factor. It's really tough.
I do, yeah. I mean, even from my own like perspective, like I mean, I'm a media company and I just send out regular invoices, but sometimes I'm like, I could do it through Stripe, where it automatically just charges the customer's credit card each month, and it takes 3%. But I'm like, do I want to be losing that 3%? It's like, but at the same time, sometimes I'm like, I wish I just had it. Like, I wish I could just, instead of having to deal with all the invoices that aren't paid yet, it's like, I wish I did actually take the 3%. So that's like,
I'm at the same place. Like if I had that, I didn't even know that exists. Like I have outstanding invoices, and it bothers me all the time. I'm like, I'd rather just pay somebody 3%.
exactly. That's the thing. So like, it is tough not to take factoring, but it's also sometimes tough to like take it. It's just like you have to realize what position you're in and what you're more comfortable with, you know, like if you are able to, because like at the same time you might come into a situation where like this company goes out of business and now you got to go through all the legal procedures where it might not be worth it, or it might be like 100K, you know, like I don't know, like obviously it depends.
You know how they have bonds on brokerages, and if you know, sometimes, you know, so many people hit that bond, there's nothing to hit anymore.
And then like
you know?
even like Del Monte Foods like went bankrupt last week.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
you got a lot of stuff. It's an unstable economy for the last, you know, 2-3 years.
so it is a risk, not like take like, and obviously there's various factoring companies. Like, I mean, we partnered with OTR Solutions, like Alex said too, and like there's obviously like if you're partnering with a factoring company, like looking at the legal agreement and making sure like because there's a lot of factoring companies that put various language in there, which you know you probably shouldn't be signing. So like if anyone's listening here, like a trucking company or even brokerage, like considering it, like get some legal expert advice before you sign any contract and make sure that it's like, you know, actually like a good contract for you to sign.
I agree.
Yeah, OTR has been great to deal with. I mean, I've had, you know, a few of my friends go over to them, and it's nice, man. I mean, factoring obviously has a huge place in trucking. Like I said, I would like, I don't know the number. Obviously, nobody knows the number, but I would say it's like 80-90% of carriers factor. I mean, besides obviously the megas who, like,
And I know some
those guys are
carriers.
set up at that point.
Yeah, I know some carriers.
Even the mega's some factor too. Like,
Yeah, I know some carriers that do it like split. Like some invoices they're holding, some invoices they're factoring. You know, there's guys that do that.
But like we even had that, you have a pain point, right? Like, cause you don't factor, sometimes you can't check out, you know, it's not easy to check the credit. So, I mean, factoring has a huge advantage, right? Like if you're with certain factoring companies, you just toss the broker's MC and it spits it out, like good to go.
Yeah,
So factoring has a lot of benefits that are sometimes not even just about the money. Like
Yep. I mean, it definitely shows its benefit, mainly that credit checker that you were
credit
showing.
check is sick. Like,
Yeah, that thing.
I mean,
is
that's a huge help booking spot freight.